Randomness? It's a girl thing. Planning your entire future with a guy you've only spoken 3 words to? It's a girl thing. Online shopping problem? It's a girl thing. A full camera roll? It's a girl thing. Going to the bathroom together? It's a girl thing. You name it. It's a girl thing.
Hi and welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. It's Kate, if you didn't already pick up on that by now, and I'm so excited that you've come back and joined us again this week. So if you're not already in comfy clothes, I think this episode's really gonna need it, so if you pause just right here and go and get into something comfy, grab a snack, because we're really gonna be getting down into some slightly touchy-feely kind of emotional stuff today, or at least in my life touchy-feely, and I just want you to feel safe, comfortable, and at home here. So, not much to life recap other than I've got some amazing guests coming up. If you haven't checked out last week's episode with Kobe Walker yet, you so should. She is one of the most inspiring and most lovely people I've had the opportunity to chat with. And I also have some others who I'm excited to chat with, I have enjoyed chatting with, that are all coming up on the release schedule. So yeah, if you want to stick around, I'd love that. You're welcome to go give the podcast a review if you've loved it so far. I'd really love to hear it. As for me, I have been doing very little recently, enjoying the sun more so than anything, and starting to prep for my big move to uni. 'Cause that's scary. Really scary. I have 60-litre tubs in the corner of my room. I don't know, I'm kind of feeling a bit anxious, but I really love being here with you girls. And this little corner of the internet makes me feel safe. And maybe I just need to chat it out with you. I don't really know. So let's touch into something that's kind of really currently and will continue to be prominent in my life for a while, and that's breakups. I'll touch on relationships and love and things like that in another episode, but I really specifically want to talk about breakups. Breakups suck. No matter what gender you're on, I don't think they'll ever be better. As someone who's been on both the receiving end and the breaking up end, I wouldn't want to do I can't even say I wouldn't want to do either ever again, because that's not really an option. But I couldn't tell you which I'd rather be on. So, in 2023, I had my first 2 breakups, funnily enough. My first breakup was my first love. He and I'd been together for just under 2 years, and I genuinely thought he was the love of my life. And he is a love of my life, but he isn't the love of my life. And now he and I are good friends, which I'll touch on later, and I'm so grateful for him, but he broke up with me relatively out of the blue. Over not a whole lot. It was all stuff that blew up bigger than it needed to be, but for him it was the end straw. And honestly, good on him for realizing that that was his end straw, but I was not thrilled. Doing it in a Monday afternoon during lunchtime at high school when all your friends are around, not the go-to place. But I will also take some credit for the time and place, because I was pestering him to tell me what was going on. But to be fair, I didn't fully expect him to break up with me then and there. So, who knows? My second breakup of 2023 was my second relationship ever, and he was an absolute sweetheart. And I'll still stand by that, and I don't regret either of the relationships I've been in. But the second one, I just kind of got to a point where I didn't feel like it was the right thing for me. Something just wasn't feeling right, and I tried to fix it, and I couldn't ever put my finger on what it was that felt wrong. So the only thing I thought I could do to fix it was break up with him, which also I had poor timing on, so I will also go into that in a little bit. But it was the right move for me. I wholeheartedly believe that now, because I don't feel those feelings that I was feeling at the time. Let's talk about teenage love for a second, and teenage relationships, because teenage relationships are so weird, because you don't have the same level of freedom and independence that you would as an adult. Bearing in mind I'm only a relatively new adult, so I don't have heaps of perspective, but I can talk a lot about teenage relationships, as I spent age 15 and a half through 18 essentially in relationships. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. Everybody talks about wanting to have that teenage love story, and wholeheartedly I wouldn't change mine for the world. But I also think at the same time I could have been quite happy without it. But it also shaped who I am, and it'll shape the partner I'll be going forward. So I'm really grateful for that. But I think teenage love, in a way, is kind of a fake love. Like, it's so real at the time, but in terms of what love is going to continue to feel like as you go through your entire life, teenage love is not going to be the embodiment of adult love. Because I expect adult love to be more comfort than butterflies. And I am so looking forward to that. Let's talk a little bit more about each of my breakups. So, my first one, he was my everything, my best friend. As I said, what I thought was the love of my life, and I am forever grateful for him. But it kind of started with him seeing me as clingy when something went wrong, and I started panicking because he wasn't somewhere he said he would meet me, and I got to the point where I actually called his mum to see if he was okay. And he thought that was too far and too much. And maybe it was. But in that moment, I cared for nothing more than his, safety. And I was a little bit frustrated, obviously, that he hadn't followed through on what he'd said he was going to do. But then, from there, that little thing, I expected to be maybe a couple of hours, him go and take some time, and then come back and we'd talk it through like we usually did, and then we'd just put it behind us and move on. But I started to feel like by that night that it wasn't going to necessarily end that way. I went to work the next day, and things still weren't right, and I think I got this feeling that he might have been planning to break up with me, but considering the night before any of the drama happened, we were the most in love we'd been in so long, and everything was just right. So to go to that to next to nothing was really a whole kick to my whole existence. I think it was also worse because I think actually one of the best things he did was the fact that he did it by my friends. Because some of my friends had already known a bit about the drama that had happened, because obviously I need perspective to know whether they thought I was the one at fault or whether it was a team effort. And they were there when he broke up with me, and they sat there and held me while I cried and sobbed. I had my favourite teachers come up to me and say that if I was okay, and I'm so grateful to them for that. But in that moment, my heart felt like it had been ripped from my chest. I felt physically ill, and I have a huge fear of throwing up. I don't know if anybody else does, but it's okay. Emetophobia is alright. Well, not alright, but you're safe here. But I literally felt like I was going to be sick for that entire afternoon, that entire evening. And I actually had to go and dance teach that same afternoon after school, my little kids, who, by the way, had all met him. So, they knew about him, so it was going to be a shock to them if they'd found out that we broke up. So I went to the dance studio, I'm holding on by thread. My dance teacher sees me and she's like, "What happened? Why do you have these flowers?" Because my bestie had gone and bought me flowers, which was so sweet. And I had to tell her, because my dance teacher has also met him as well. That's how much of a big part of my life he was. And yeah, that kind of went from there. And then I watched The Princess Diaries. That evening we went and picked my best friend up because I lost it again. I watched The Princess Diaries. I don't even think I ate ice cream. Although, if you like ice cream, that's a good way to go. It's the very cliche breakup remedy. Then, with the second breakup, it was a bit different because I was breaking up with him. As I said, things didn't feel right, and he was going away the next day when I'd really clicked that I was not happy with where I was and did not want to put either of us through something I wasn't sure about. He was going away on vacation the next day, and when he came back, it was literally like Christmas Eve. So I didn't want to do it on Christmas Eve because that's just mean. Nor did I want to lead him on for another 10 days while he was on vacation, because I'm not that person. I don't want to lead anyone on. If I'd known sooner, I would have done it sooner, because I obviously didn't want to do it the night before he also went on vacation as well. But I talked everything through with my mum because she is amazing, and we talked it through, and she could tell that in my mind I'd committed to that decision. And I never wanted to be the person to do it over, message, but I had to do it over video call, which was still better, and he didn't hang up on me, and I didn't hang up on him, and we both cried, and we both talked it through. But I will say that I understand how hard it is to break up with somebody, especially someone you care about. I was upset afterwards, but I also felt relieved because I didn't feel like I was going to have to force anything or lie or hide how I was feeling. Because the last thing I want to do is hurt anyone by lying and creating facades. Okay, recovering from a breakup, I know it's so cliche, but time is a healer. Like, time fixes just about everything in life. I will be completely honest, I'm still not over my first love, but he's also still my best friend now. And I think that makes it harder because he has also changed a lot in the last 8 months since we've been broken up, and not in a good way. And every time I hang out with him, yes, I still absolutely love his presence and I love his personality and I enjoy hanging out with him, but I would not date this version of him ever. But still I see him and I hear him and I still feel the way and feel that connection I have with him, to the point that I almost wish I could start changing things about him so I could be the man I fell in love with. Because if he was that version of himself, the one that I loved, I would without a doubt go back. But I wouldn't now, because I don't like the person he is, and he's not the kind of person I'm in love with. He makes a great best friend. He is an incredible best friend because so many of those good underlying traits are still there. But my number one thing, if you want to be friends with your ex, give it 2 months. 2 months at least. Essentially no contact for 2 months. If you see each other all the time, you can acknowledge each other, but no contact, no extra talking for 2 months. His and mine was kind of forced because there was some drama that happened via people at school that caused him to block me. So I had that forced non-contact, but I think if I hadn't had that, he and I wouldn't still be best friends. Recovering from breaking up, and just in general, you've got to find what works for you. Because I really did need to cry it out and talk it out and get all those thoughts out of my head about what was happening. Journal. If you are hurting, or if you don't feel like you've got someone to talk to, or if you feel like you've out-talked your breakup with the person you talk to all the time, go to a journal. Write everything down, because the amazing thing about journaling is if you write it down now for every day, in a month, you'll look back at 2 days post-breakup and be like, wow, I've come so far. 4 months down the track, you'll look at month 1 and be like, wow, I've come so far. Same for 6 months, same for a year. You'll be able to look back and see how far you've come and see how it didn't. See how the world didn't end. Because the world didn't end. Also, as much as I don't want to admit it, breakups are an opportunity to find yourself. Especially like me, I dated my first boyfriend just before I turned 16 all the way through to just before I turned 18. So, just under 2 years, as I said. And that was part of my teenage development years. And because I spent so much time with him, that meant I spent less time with myself, and meant I spent less time finding myself and finding who I wanted to be, other people I wanted to surround myself with, what my morals were, everything about me. So if you are going through a breakup, if you've been through a breakup, if you're 6 months post-breakup, remember to connect with yourself. Find opportunities to learn more about yourself. Because there is so much you can do and so many things you'll learn and find about yourself as you go on that you never expected to find. Okay, this one I've got to make a whole little PSA about, because I think it's so important. There's 2 things in this PSA. Revenge is not the answer. I find this harder to say to cheating exes or abusive exes, but as much as you think it's going to be cathartic and solve your issue, you'll probably end up feeling like a crappier person after. Being petty isn't the answer. You need to let yourself heal, because he or she is not worth your time anymore. If they were cheating or abusing you, or whatever it may be, they weren't worth your time in the first place, but they're especially not worth your time now. So don't spend another minute thinking of ways you can get back at them, because the best way you can get back at them is by being the best version of yourself and living your best life. And my second little thing, rebounds are not it. I get lots of your friends may be telling you, oh, go out and find yourself a little rebound, a little fling, whatever you've got to do to get over it. But no, because you're only going to get yourself hurt more. I get that you're eventually going to have a rebound per se, but don't do it for another few months. You've got to let yourself heal and get over the worst of it before you can even begin to consider giving your heart to someone else in another way, shape or form. Especially physical rebounds. You're giving yourself away when you don't even know where you fully are. You're not fully connected to yourself. My advice for breakups, I don't know. There's so many things I could say. But my biggest thing is it's your breakup. It is your struggle. It is your life. It was your relationship. So you need to do what you feel you need to do in order to help yourself heal. Because it's no longer about you and your ex, it's about you. And if you even need someone to talk to and to talk through a breakup, I am always here. I'm here to be a support person. Because sometimes we just need an external support who is unbiased to the person and unbiased to the situation. Other advice, don't trash talk that person. Don't become sour. You can be honest. Don't hesitate to be honest. I had a better thought in there too and I've lost track of it. Self-care is one. Go for a walk, clear your head, listen to a podcast, call a friend. If you have the ability to get out of town for a weekend, go away. Change your environment. Because I woke up every day after my breakup feeling like I was in a nightmare. Because he was still in my dreams, he was still in my mind, but I would wake up every day thinking I had this amazing boyfriend that I loved, that I could go and text, and go and say good morning to, or initially that I could wake up beside, and all of a sudden he wasn't there, and it was a whole nightmare. It felt like my world was ending because every morning my heart felt like it was being carved out again and again and again. So changing your environment can help. I had a sleepover with one of my friends and that helped. I slept with my mum in her room because I was hurting so much and I needed a different environment, and that was okay. You have to lean on that support system. They're there for you. They want to help you. They want to love you. I want to love you because you are so worthy of love. Just because this breakup happened doesn't mean love's never going to come your way again. A lot of people have opinions on the wrong person, right time? No. Right person, wrong time. That's the saying. And I have mixed feelings about it because I wholeheartedly think you can be not ready for somebody. But I also believe that if you want to enough in most situations, you can make it work. Sometimes it requires compromise and change. But if you feel like you weren't ready for each other, you can keep in mind that you may want to come back to them later in life. But give it time, because give them the opportunity to find themselves, and then you can see exactly what kind of person they are. If they go running and hooking up with new people a few days, a week, even a month after your breakup, take that as a sign. Make note of that, because that also tells you what kind of person they are. Also, I think it's really hard because if you really truly have that sturdy foundation of your relationship, that person is going to be like your best friend and friend built in to your partner. And so not only at the time of your breakup are you losing your partner, you are losing your best friend. And I think that was, initially it hurt more because I was losing my partner and the person I was truly in love with. But once I got a little bit further into that no contact period, what hurt most was that I'd lost my best friend. Wholeheartedly, I had lost the person I counted on in every situation, that I would call about the funny things, the sad things, who literally kept me alive when my grandma passed. I missed that side of him. So that was kind of when we started talking again. And now, as I said, he is literally my best friend again. I trust him with everything and anything, and he's like my go-to. So grateful for that. Doesn't mean I approve of all his life choices, but I don't need to. Because I'm me and he's he, and we're friends. That won't work for everyone. Your ex may not want to be friends. You may not want to be friends. And that's okay. Once again, it's about you. Do what's going to be right for you. And I think overall, I really just want to make it so clear that time will heal it. And if you don't think it will, come back and listen to this in another couple of months and tell me how you feel then. Because I can just about guarantee you that your opinion will have changed. Also, breakups are like grief. So the same way I talked about grief in my life lessons of 23, this applies as well. You're in a box with a giant red breakup grief button. And initially that box is tight around it. And you're bouncing around in this little box and you're pinging off this grief breakup button all the time. Everywhere you turn, everywhere you see, everywhere you go, it's gonna hurt. But every day you get through it a little bit more, that box opens up a little bit wider and you slowly start hitting the button less. I sometimes still hit that button, and I am literally almost 8 or 9 months to the day, and I will still hit that breakup grief button. It still hurts. I still have my box of his and my memories, and it will still hurt. It's still going to hurt for a long time, and I'm not expecting that to change. I'm kind of trying to go with it because it's teaching me stuff about myself along the way. I've kind of got to feel it to get through it, and some days that means sobbing my eyes out. I have cried to him about it because he's my best friend now. The stupid thing is, he understands how I feel about my breakup with him more than anybody else does because he was there. He knew every detail of our relationship. Also, that's another tip. Just because you've broken up, your relationship was still private. It was yours, his, or yours and hers. It was your relationship. Nobody else needs to know any of those private details because you will get hurt and your ex will get hurt. There is nothing you can do or say or think that is worth tearing that box open and sharing somebody's deepest moments or hardest moments or best moments because those were shared just between you. And that's the way they should stay. There'll be happy memories, there'll be sad memories, there will be angry memories. And you've got to remember them as they were and treat them as they were. So I hope you've taken something away from my kind of like breakup rant. But I'm still hurting. There's days that I struggle to get through, especially ones where he would be there. And he might still be there in some way, but it's not the way he ever was. My family still know about him. They all still met him. He was there when my grandma died. But I think it's so important to realize that they're part of this season of your life, or part of a specific season of your life. They're not going to be there forever. You get to look back and you'll smile, even though for now you might want to cry. And that's okay, because I love you, your friends love you, your family loves you, God loves you. You are just worthy of that love, and you will find it again. It's always going to come back to you in some way or another. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you come back next time. I love you.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. It's been great having you. If you have any topics you'd love for me to discuss, want some big sisterly advice, or just want to say hey, just reach out to me on Instagram at It's a Girl Thing Pod, and I hope you join us next week. Stay beautiful.